On today's agenda, hi, this is Chuck Long, Solutions Engineer. Today's agenda, we're going to look at an industry trend. For those who were with us 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we did this same presentation, me and John Kitchen, and basically it was showing how UCaaS, mixing UCaaS and SD-WAN at the office, and then you can also do it from the home. Well, 2.5 years later, it's do it from the home, and if you do have an office, you can do it there as well. So we're gonna look at what I call post-pandemic update, market trends. Ellen's gonna give us a nice update on the markets, what's happening there, some statistics there. Then me and John Kitchen, we're going to give you the benefits of using SD-WAN with UCaaS wherever you're working from these days.
It was shocking, Chuck, to see not only workers when we're given the choice of okay, you're not working from the office anymore, you can work wherever you want, and people started thinking about their dream. Where would I really like to live? And people are moving farther and wider, even other countries, and so it is shocking.
Well, it's, as long as they're performing their job, that's what matters, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah, and of course, go over the cloud connectivity that comes with the SD-WAN. We're all cloud connected. We're cloud connected doing this presentation right now. And then I love how Ellen put it there, Ellen. Put down pots. We're going to give a status, industry status. Where is the plain old telephone service these days? Have you kept up with all the legalese that's going on? And then, of course, look at our work from home package. And then Ellen always gives us an update on the corporate news there. So Ellen, let's give it over to you, and you can give us an industry update there.
Okay, so as Chuck and John brought up, we did this 2 years ago. In March of 2020, actually, we released a work from home package, which we still offer today, and we'll talk about that later on. But at that point in time, nobody had any idea how long this was going to last. We thought it was going to be a few weeks, and here we are 2.5 years later, and look where we are. So then in October, we went and presented largely a similar, not completely the same presentation as you'll see today. But what I think is amazing is how well we did and how well we survived this unplanned experiment that was thrust upon us on work from home, which became work from anywhere, as John pointed out. And there's all these funny stories on TikTok and YouTube about people, working with having a green screen around them while they're at the ball game, like this guy on the beach. And John mentioned people moving to other countries, not just other states, because this thing went on for so long. But I looked through some of the stats, and I decided to bring up the McKinsey & Company report because that was just recently done. And I was surprised by these two things. After surveying 25,000 Americans, they came back that 58% of them said that they can work from home at least 1 day a week, maybe more. And 35% said they have the option to work from home 5 days a week. But what I thought was even more amazing was this wasn't just white collar professional type jobs. This was also blue collar jobs. Things like mold abatement companies, plumbers. A lot of those people are letting everyone take the trucks home at night, and they're working out of the owner's house. I have a plumber that lives not too far from me, big circular driveway in front of his house. I didn't know he was a plumber until I walked by there with my dog one day and saw like 5 vans with plumbing names on it. And I'm like, he must have a really bad problem. And I found out, he owns that company, and he closed down his office. He even, I think, has now sold the building, and he just dispatches his guys from home. And the same thing, there's a friend of mine works for a mold abatement company. They're doing the same thing. And it's kind of nice because the trucks, instead of all the trucks coming home to one central point, leaving them there in a locked yard at night, they're spread out across the city, free advertising. So it's actually working for them. But this was a surprise. Now clearly there's some jobs that require you to be on site. And we don't need to spell those out, they come to mind. But remember, before the pandemic, there were quite a few jobs and people that were working remotely, especially when you take the large tech companies. Sales engineers were commonly deployed remotely, financial advisors, insurance brokers, customer service people, appointment setters. These were typically remote positions anyway. So it's the ones that where you would require them to be in the corporate environment and on site for meetings, which have really changed drastically. Let's go to the next slide, Chuck. So with this work from home, maybe it's making it better. Now the kids have gone back to school, you have a better work life at home. You don't have them hanging all over you while you're trying to get your job done. But the question is this an ideal work environment? Is it really? Is it a secure work environment? And or have we just increased the cyber attack landscape, increased our network vulnerabilities, and in some cases reduced the quality of experience for employees. I mean, residential internet is not terribly predictable, reliable, in many cases not terribly safe. Now, I grabbed this picture off the stock photography site because I'm going to tell you a quick true story about a friend of mine who is a developer. I'm going to change her name. This is my friend Heidi, works for a large Fortune 100 company, I guess 200 company up in Silicon Valley. She's a coder, so she just sits home all day long and codes. And that's why a lot of this is working, because if you think about it, your job is spent, like my job especially, is spent in front of a computer, on the phone. I'm in front of a computer all day long, whether I'm sitting at home, in Italy, or in LA at the office. I'm doing the same thing, so largely. So this has been out there for a while that people are working from home. Well, hackers are getting very smart about this. And what happened to my friend here was a little while ago, and you may have heard about this, an email went out that made it look like it was coming from your HR company. And the email says something to the effect that return to work plan notification or something to that effect. These people who've been working from home and maybe moved away from San Jose and stuff like that lost their minds. They all clicked on this email and it had ransomware in it. And my friend Heidi is crying because she inadvertently downloaded. And this is a tech person. You think tech people should know better. Well, yes and no. So she downloaded ransomware to her company network and her computer, clearly. They're getting it resolved though. But see, this kind of stuff happens a lot more than you think. And so you need better security. Now I see some residential internet companies are starting to push that security aspect. It took them literally 2.5 years to do that. God knows what we've let into our networks for many people who are out there working remotely. The other issue is just accessing. How many of you sit there and watch things churn? Everybody's using SaaS applications. No one has applications downloaded to their computer anymore. So connectivity, trying to access. How many times do you see people posting notices like, is the such and such program slow today? I can't get into salesforce.com. Is anybody else having trouble? This stuff is very, very common. And a lot of it can be solved with SD-WAN and better security. And that's what the team here today is really going to go into details about. And they got quite a few scenarios. I think probably all the scenarios that you would expect and recommendations on that. So with that being said, I'm going to stop talking and let the guys take over.
And I'd like to add something too. This is Clinton. I'd like to add something about that post-COVID effect. There's been a tech expertise has been in demand since then, and lots of folks who are now relegated to working from home didn't necessarily have the expertise to configure their environments or to set their environments up to support working from home. And that's outside of whatever their employers may have provided for them. That means gathering ISPs, right? And then trying to figure out the technology to aggregate those technologies together, those ISPs together, right? And then you start going into other things like zero trust. But yeah, so that post-COVID, that's been a huge effect on things, and there are a lot of folks out there that didn't necessarily have the technical expertise to even understand, how do I work from home at all, right? And there's a line of demarcation for which their employers are responsible for, right? Employers will give you so much, set up your laptops and other machines like that they're responsible for, but your home environment, right, is your own responsibility. So there have been a lot of things that have come to bear. I've had to go. I've been the tech guy for my street. I literally have been the tech guy for my street, going up and down my street. My neighbors know what I do for a living, and they come to me for expertise. So that's been another one of those things.
Getting a lot of baked goods there, Clinton, as a trade-off.
Exactly, lots of cakes and cookies and things like that. But that was another challenge, and that's something that end users are also seeking seeking for their vendors to help provide the thought leadership for those kind of things. So anyway, that's I want to
No,
add
those are
that.
all true and valid points. I mean, I remember the first time I worked from home, showing my age, was in the late 80s because I had a troubleshoot and test a new 2400 baud dial-up modem. But yeah, I was always wanting to look for that one day a week work schedule, not that 5-day. But anyway, for those people out there that might be new to AirSpring, software-defined wide area networking SD-WAN, we've been doing that here now, I guess, almost 6 years at AirSpring, 5.5, 6 years. And when you mix the two together, the UCaaS, Unified Communications as a Service for voice over IP, peanut butter and jelly, chocolate and peanut butter, however you want to look at it, you do get a lot of benefits, especially because of the way the SD-WAN works at AirSpring. We give your voice, whether it doesn't matter what the media is, whether it's broadband, whether it's fiber, Fios to the home, broadband to the home with Comcast or Spectrum, 4G or any type of 5G, LTE, satellite, microwave. Our SD-WAN solutions are agnostic to any of that. In the past, pre-pandemic, it was all about latency, jitter. Is the voice quality going to be good enough? Is the video quality going to be good enough? Post-pandemic, it's all, is it secure? All of a sudden, Clinton, we've all forgot about the latency. Right. Is it secure? Yeah. What happened to latency? Yeah, well, it's okay now. But is it secure, right?
Yeah.
But with our SD-WAN, we also provide that QoE. And I'm explaining these acronyms as we use them, especially for the people who might be new to the team here, is quality of experience from that handset back to AirSpring's SBCs and onto the PSTN, public switch telephone network, or from that PC or soft phone. Is the customer getting the quality they expect and being able to see all that? So you get all that, but is it secure now?
And that's from the purview of the end user, right? That's why the experience, correct. Right, exactly.
Yeah. And so, and the thing is too, though, we're talking about disaster recovery for the home. Well, we got a fire or a tornado or an earthquake? No, you have to realize a lot of these home users, they're critical to that company's needs, whether it's a logistics company and this person is handing out where the trucks are supposed to go, or whether this is like in our own backyard here at AirSpring, we always eat our own dog food, as we say here. We have customer service engineers that have to be up 365, 24/7. Same time goes with some of our sales and our managed service engineers. If we're not turning up the loops you guys are selling out there for us, we're not making any money. So what's ever critical to that company's need, just because they're working from anywhere, that shouldn't change per se. So you do get the cost effectiveness of home satellite internet access or home LTE access. A lot of these new mediums aren't that, how do I say, expensive anymore as they were in the past. And then finally, what we're seeing, and we have a slide on this one, guys, the new trend over the last 6 months, how even small companies are putting in a virtual instance of where they go to their cloud. So if they're at Office 365 or Watson with IBM or up at Siebel or wherever they're going to get their cloud services, Azure or whatever, that node's in their network, so everything stays encrypted. So that's some of the stuff we're going to look at, and I'm going to hand you off to John now, so you can say about the PBX side.
And yeah, because this pandemic has pushed the workers out to the farthest they want to go, but it's also been pushing companies to move their data and their voice into the cloud. Okay, that way it is accessible from anywhere. And so at that point now, the voice can be accessed from anywhere, and you're using the same phone number that you use at work, and you're using that at home. So that's part of the work from home. But like we're talking about, the trend is, are you secure? And the answer is yes, because you've got a military grade encryption from that little magic box back to the AirSpring data centers, and so anywhere to anyone, as long as you're on the network, you're covered.
Even toll-free numbers at home, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
And John, referencing the tunneling technology by which the the SD-WAN solution, works, right? It's a tunneling technology, which is military-grade encryption, and provides you with all the bells and whistles as far as link remediation, the app steering and all that good stuff. Yeah.
And as we do, Clinton, with all our SD-WAN presentations, we got to bring out the classic, the good old, from the world of AirSpring. This has been around, I don't know, we've been showing this slide, I guess, for 5 years
It's
now.
in packet loss, huh?
And with 2 packets out of 100, that's what your video conference is going to look like. And if you're signed to sell something there, you want to be the person on the right, not the one on the left, obviously. But that's just a simple 2% packet loss. Of course, we're showing the SD-WAN with VMware VeloCloud on this particular slide.
Hey, Chuck, is that why we all have SD-WAN appliances at our houses?
Yeah, we do. But that's back to AirSpring. We always use what we sell here.
Right.
Yep.
But,
And today's work from home options are pretty wide. So for the last few years, physical circuits, fiber, broadband have become so much less expensive, as have the 4 and 5G and satellite and everything else. It's all headed down to zero. So 4G is transitioning to 5G. Satellite now providing, low level, low cost, low latency coverage anywhere, in the world. You've got a lot more choices on where you work from. And so as workers scatter farther away from headquarters, SD-WAN make all these low cost circuits viable to secure reliable business traffic, including voice. And so you
and
can
it's
put
for the home too, right, John?
Yeah, and you can actually put a virtual SD-WAN in your data cloud too, like Chuck was just saying, and that way everybody has complete secure access from wherever they are to voice and data.
Nice. Yeah, and think about it too. These different technologies that John brings up, they're actually competing for your same service. So you've got your, whether it be your Viasat satellite for internet access to those remote locations, maybe as we have it up at the Idaho Fishing Lodge or the Maryland Farm in our network, or, it is cost effective now. So by all means, talk to your channel manager. Don't be afraid to drop a satellite link at your house, folks. It's not that big of a deal.
I can qualify that statement because I have 3 loops here in my home. I have a
Ruining
family
the next
of 6.
slide, Clinton.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I have a family of 6, and they were all working from home, from school, and my wife would work from home. And I think I pay a total of $179 for all 3 loops.
Wow.
That's for a wireless. That's for a satellite, right? Satellite, and then for a Comcast cable, and then my main connection, which is a Verizon Fios. So it is cost effective.
No, it's you got to get out there and shop, folks. Get online, do some of that surfing.
Right.
Hey, I remember this slide from the last time. You've got a couple of new characters in the cloud.
Well, and it's not Batman and Robin over here either. Wish it was. It's those bad actors, they call them. I don't know why they call them bad actors. I just call them hackers, but whatever. But when you run unified communications over broadband, pre-pandemic, we were always concerned about those little loops, or broadband loops, and these little mountain spikes down here. And what I'm showing you here is our AirNMS product. It's our SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol system, that watches all our wide area loops. It pulls those loops to make sure they're up and running. And it also looks at their latency, their jitter, and their packet loss. And what you're seeing here on this is typical on broadband loops, is that they swing, their inner packet gap swing. They get lots of jitter, maybe 60 to 100 milliseconds of jitter, but that's broadband. In the past, when we put this in, we were always worried about that jitter, not the bad actors. Post-pandemic, every one of these UCaaS phones, and I'm gonna get a little technical now, sorry guys, they do what they call a keep alive. Every 30 seconds, that phone says, "Hey, Metaswitch in New York or LA, I'm here." 30 seconds go by. "Hey, Metaswitch, New York or LA, I'm here." That way, you pick it up, it gives you dial tone, you're able to make calls. Well, hackers learned, especially when everybody went home, that they can watch these DNS records if they're coming over the top. And a lot of people used to ask me, "Chuck, can I run UCaaS over the top?" Just plug it in at home internet, and it works great, cost effective. Then all the hackers started looking at your phone calls and getting all your information on how to log in and how to register that phone and all the URLs about it and password and username. And you might end up with one of these, John. I'll let you take care of this one, John.
You're going to answer this call. Yeah. And it's interesting because this actually turned up in my home office, and I was putting together the SD-WAN with the other components, and I inadvertently left public IP exposed. And within, well, the first time it hit, it took a day and a half to hit. The second time I did it, it took probably an hour and a half for them to find it.
Ouch.
So they're really picking up the pace on this.
And for those of you who don't know what you're seeing here, this is a call from Sid Vicious. He's not a singer for an English punk band. He's not damning any bullocks here or whatever, right? It is a known malware SIP virus. That,
It's actually originated from Kali, right? Wasn't it a tool, Kali org? It was actually
something like that, yeah. But it's just what it's trying to do is you answer this call, it's going to infect. Not only this phone's infected, I had to take John, go out, cold start it. It's going to infect the entire system.
Yeah.
And to the point, and of course, Ellen yelled at us because the phone was dusty. I thought that was funny because when you ever see a call like that, do not answer it. Call your ID department and your security people immediately. But what you get is,
Chuck, this
together, John, explain this one.
This one just came out. Look at the date. It came out last week, and from Microsoft, who bought Metaswitch. Now, we've been on Metaswitch for over 8 years, but things have changed, right? Since the pandemic changed, where we work and all that, it's introduced these hackers. And so let me just read the first part of this. Again, from Microsoft, who bought Metaswitch a couple of years ago, and we utilize Metaswitch in our cloud for our hosted voice. But it starts out, it's currently possible to run MaxUC, and that MaxUC is our soft phone client type stuff in our UCaaS offering. And so it is possible for MaxUC end users to use SIP over broadband or an insecure transport. However, and it goes on to provide malicious parties will be there waiting for you. And so it goes all the way down and ends up with the security alert. As we strongly recommend that all MaxUC end users, when you're working from home, or of course in the office, it'd be secure there, to secure their connection so that this doesn't happen. So again, this you didn't see these types of things don't go over the top anymore before the pandemic, right? We were all comfortable with that at that point.
Yeah, and just worried about bandwidth, right? I need bandwidth
and latency and packet loss, right?
Yeah,
those are the Now you're going to get your phone hacked. You're going to and if you're running that MaxUC
data compromised.
Exactly, you're running that on your cell phone. Things get a little, but yeah, you would not see Microsoft or Metaswitch do this pre-2020. It just came out on an email to all their end users like that. So, John, I think this is your home, isn't it?
It is. It is indeed my home, and the key here is that I didn't need to have this security for the rest of the family. This is just for my company, right? For the company I work for. So I put this VMware in behind my broadband router, and of course it will DHCP and find its way back to the AirSpring data center and register in the gateways and such. But you'll see at the bottom that the family members, the kids, are going straight out over the internet. They don't have all the voice over IP and the data center traffic. They've just got regular traffic. So I don't have to pay for a configuration that would accommodate the entire family.
And you didn't have to change anything on your broadband carrier home router. You just literally plugged the VMware box in.
Plugged in behind it, it DHCP'd to the broadband router. It came up, and of course they're pre-programmed. As long as these VMware boxes have access to the internet, they will find their way back to the data center, and that's part of that dynamic multipath optimization that they have.
Yeah, the DMPO. Key there for anybody, DHCP And once again, with all these acronyms, you know how us nerds are. We start talking, get excited. We start talking in different languages. That's dynamic host configuration protocol. What that means is that when this device plugged into this router, it automatically got an IP address and out the internet it went. And we're showing that encryption back to the VMware cloud gateways that AirSpring owns. It's another one of our differentiators, and our SD-WAN's a little bit different. The other key thing here is that John didn't have to do any special configuration of VLANs, virtual local area networks, for the home users versus the work users. And if you really want to take security to the ultimate, at the end of the day, if he wanted to power this VMware box off, put it in a drawer of his desk, lock it in a drawer, that's ultimate security there. But, you know, maybe taking it too far, but it doesn't matter. You can plug that in every morning. You can take this VMware box and these devices, as my senior vice president does in his RV, takes them to Yellowstone Park, hooks them up to Elon Musk's Starlink, and off he goes to the internet, right? The key is, though, is that traffic's encrypted. Got to have that. Also, when you use it over broadband, what I like to show people is that the VMware, VCO, that's our Velo VMware Cloud Orchestrator. I might slip and say Velo. We're really adamant about using VMware now since they did buy them, and of course they got bought by Broadcom.
Chuck, you're fired.
But when you go, as we saw with Air and MS, that was giving us a layer 1 through layer 3 view of what was going on to this particular site. With the orchestrator, as we call it, it gives you a more like a layer 4 and above and up to layer 7 view, that now, even though we're encrypting, doing all those wonderful things, this is more like Clinton's home power user, where he's got a bigger VMware box, a firewall behind it, larger switch, multiple loops. But I just want to show everybody that when you see this, a lot of customers like seeing the QoE status in the orchestrator, because it tells you how that encryption and that tunnel traffic is being buffered to make sure everything's working properly. Because when you buy the product from the software, SD-WAN product from AirSpring, you're actually just buying what you need, and that is the tunnel traffic that you want to prioritize. And that's one of our big differentiators. We call it flex licensing. Ask your channel manager about it. They can explain it to you in more detail. And here's a comparison showing the layer 1 through 2. See all the bumps in the road. That's all been smoothed out at layer 5.
Yeah. And Chuck, you've got maybe, like you said, 40 or 80 milliseconds of jitter in there. But just to mention, these boxes have actually a 300 millisecond jitter buffer on them.
Good
so
point.
They can easily take satellite traffic with the huge latency and make it voice viable.
Yeah, well, Elon has this, he's getting rid of that satellite latency. So yeah, you're exactly right. And realize, with all AirSpring portals, read-write access comes with the managed service. We don't charge to access any of our portals, whether it be Air and MS for our loops, AirCare for our voice or bill paying or trouble ticket opening, or VMware or Fortinet 40 portal. That's an AirSpring family tradition here. Everybody gets read-write access. You might have to fill out a little more paperwork for the right side. That way, if you do screw it up, we can charge you to pay for, to back it up. Speaking of backing it up, the Dude Ranch, that's John's lab site. What do you use for backup there, John? Why don't you tell us about
Well, that is actually a 4G LTE router, and those, like we mentioned, the satellite 4 and 5G, those types of failover connections. The cool thing is that those are priced and you pay for data rates, right? 4G data rates, 5G, and satellite data rates, and so you don't want to run full traffic over those links, because if you do, now you're going to end up getting some overages or getting throttled and that kind of stuff. But the cool thing is that you can plug it into this VMware box, and look down there at the bottom where you see the VCO looking, and the AT&T wireless is on a hot standby. And like Chuck was mentioning earlier, it's just sending its keep alives, right? And so it's got maybe a 75 gig limit for that 4G modem to work, 4G router to work.
usage limit, you mean, for that month?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's their usage limit before they get throttled or changed. And this actually can only wake that up when there's an issue with the primary circuit, and it
Now,
will
in this hot
still
standby,
transfer.
oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah, and
John.
it will
But in
still
this hot
transfer.
standby mode, I still get that voice hit list though,
That's
right?
right. That's what I was
Oh,
trying to
okay.
stutter out. Yep. Mhm.
Well, no, because I know in the past, some of you might have tried to use a 4G as backup, and the cost effectiveness kind of
And
went
then you
out
got
the
that bill.
window.
Yep.
Yeah, you got that bill. Um, I heard that. Yeah. And of course, here, this is what your home setup is, right, John? Yeah, because there it is. Yeah,
Absolutely.
the
Yep.
actual home setup with it and stuff like that, and that encryption is there. But the key thing is this particular
Yeah.
slide here.
Yeah, because here's proof. And one thing I'll start with on this is that you get tons of reporting with the Velo Cloud.
Yes,
It will blow your mind when you start seeing the details and depth of the reporting on this. But this is one report that Chuck pulled up, and it's basically monitoring that 4G LTE backup link. And so it monitors it for a month, and over a month of that 30-second keep alives, it's still at only less than 660 meg out of 75 gig. So you got plenty of room to work with.
very
And
practical then.
mhm,
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that, because a lot of people in the past said, "Oh, that LTE works great, but God, it costs as much as the main loop sometimes," right? So glad
that's
to,
exactly right.
yeah, it's glad to see that's gone away. And we have different plans, whether you want dedicated bandwidth like a 12 meg or higher speed, or you want a general usage plan across multiple. Once again, ask your channel managers and they can show you the different plans we have there. But yeah, you do bring up a good point, John, is that reporting that has come up over the last year on the VMware side of the house. They have all kind of reports in there that come with the managed service as well.
And Chuck didn't even mention E&I, and maybe he
Well,
will.
quit selling futures, Clinton. This is UCaaS we have today. No.
Okay.
And
Oh,
then, of
mother.
course, Clinton here is why we brought Clinton in. He owns the Maryland farm. And as he was mentioning earlier, he has multiple loops at his location. He has a FiOS loop, he has a Spectrum Link loop there, and also a Viasat loop. And it's kind of funny, once Viasat starts saying that we use these in our demos, ever sudden everybody started getting free Viasat loops at home. But they are, it's location, 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 depending on what you have out there and what you need, whether you're and sometimes this is in the middle of a large city because you're on the wrong side of the train tracks and no one can get a local loop to you, you're using satellite. But it works well. It does have the 125 millisecond delay up and down the traditional K and C band satellites. Recently we did some testing via my senior vice president on vacation with the Starlink LEO, they call it, I guess, low orbit
Orbit, yeah.
satellites, and getting 80 meg down, 40 meg up, and I think it was what, 59 milliseconds, Clinton, something like that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
And for a satellite, I was like, is that, you're looking the wires and kicking it, making sure it's not smoke and mirrors, right?
Yeah,
But,
see what happens when you lower things and you bring things down closer to the planet.
yeah, but they also run into a lot of things then too. But
Yeah, right.
so you can use the satellite, and it doesn't have to be our satellite per se. The 4G wireless 5G can be anybody's. It usually just how they get their DHCP addressing or how they get that public address. So as we always try to train new engineers here and sales folks here at AirSpring with the VMware SD-WAN product, as long as you give it a public IP, it'll find its way home. And
Yep.
it doesn't, and it comes home a lot across a lot of strange and different devices. Fixed wireless. You told me microwave I used to use in the early '90s made a big strong comeback in the from 2015 to 2020. You see a lot of fixed wireless microwave now as well,
Mhm.
and we can offer those type of services. So just don't think your traditional Ma Bell and Comcast and Spectrum and cable folks. There's a lot of other mediums out there that can provide this type of resiliency in a different way back. I did ask Ellen to throw this slide in because I try to keep up as I talk to y'all. She lets me talk to you about once every 3 months, it seems like. Try to keep you up on what trends that our agents are selling and using out there. People, the 60 some odd people we have out in the audience there, this is something you all are using. I didn't make this up. I'm lazy. I always just copy what everybody else does. But what I mean by this is we do these SD-WAN boot camps. Mike Chase, my senior vice president, gives them, and we also do security boot camps. If you haven't signed up for one, get into Agent Star, sign up, ask your channel manager.
Yeah,
They're great.
Yeah.
I have people that go 2 or 3 times. They love it. Refresher, whatever. But out of these boot camps, we often get orders, and I'm the one who's responsible to make sure they work. And over the last 3 to 4 months, I've seen a trend. Lord, does 3 months make a trend, Ellen? I don't know, but I'm going to say it.
These days it does.
This is becoming our agent's favorite setup. They're all working from home. Maybe you work for a small, mid-sized agency, maybe 20 people. You're all working from home now. They put an SD-WAN box at home, buy our little package. But the key is they put a virtual SD-WAN instance up into where their cloud services are at. So whether that be at IBM Watson, or in this case here, Office 365, maybe they went to Azure to get the Office 365 or AWS, you know, all those players. The key there was once they put it up in the cloud, it automatically connects to all the sites. All the node to node connections are tunnel, as we say tunnel. So that means it's encrypted. It means it's getting replicated or load balances over the multiple loops if we have them, but it's all secure. So any applications that I have in the cloud behind this virtual node, they're automatically secured. So if I'm working from home and I'm supposed to log into Azure to get my Office 365 desk so I can do PowerPoints, then log in to DAX, which we use to do our operations and our sales and Agent Star here at AirSpring, if these are all up in the cloud, I don't need to use a VPN. I don't need to find my cell phone to see if it's a text I got to get, or is an email numbers, or do I have to stare at a screen with my eyes like I have to do for medical for 3 minutes or 5 minutes before they let me in, right? With the biometrics like that. The simplicity of it all is what a lot of people like. And what surprised me is I thought maybe big agencies would do this, you know, a couple hundred people. No, it's the 3 to 5, 6 to 12, the what's cost effective, because they know they're not going to go into the office per se, or like me, I go into the office twice a month now because I have the lab there I have to run where all the rest of our team works from home. So think outside the box. I have at least 5 of you agencies running this particular application out there right now.
Right. And Chuck is showing firewalls there, but if you're, if you're not into managing your own firewalls, these devices actually allow you to take advantage of what's called virtual network functions, where you can take advantage of third-party security services that are outside of VMware. You can connect to them via your edge and take advantage of them. So, you can actually.
They are very connectable.
Yeah, exactly. So that just shows you the level of extensibility that these devices have. And one thing I wanted to say too, as we move on, was the post-pandemic, right? As far as like the tech expertise, I like to call it. With these devices, there's a huge thing out there called ZTP, the zero touch provisioning. No one wants to get a box and have to do anything more than plug it in. Right?
That's it.
That's what you get with VMware. That's what you get with this solution as well. It is ZTP right across the board. You plug it in, it seeks mother, it finds mother, it seeks its brothers and sisters, it finds them, and it says, okay, kumbaya, and they all connect, right?
Yep.
Done. And then there's a lot of administrative capability via the orchestrator that more of the nerdy folks might want to get into. But for the most part, if your environment's relatively static in terms of change, and you can set this and forget it. But if you're a tweaker, then you have the orchestrator to go to.
No, I mean, and don't think work from home is one box, one PC, one phone. That would probably be your typical setup. But I see more and more power users where, like with Clinton's setup there, we saw 3 loops. He's got multiple Wi-Fi's running behind it.
It's because I had kids at home from still
working. And Mike Chase, he's got over 200 IoT devices he's playing with. And whether, and I always tell people too, just don't think it's the CIO or the CFO that's going to need all that. Right. It's more of who is the production people of that company, who's responsible making that company function, they'll need that work from home backup because it can't be offline.
Right.
You know? So what's Clinton was summarizing here is it is plug and play. I'll let John discuss the end of this slide, rest of the package of what you get with it. And
Yeah,
it's,
because
go ahead, John.
all right, transitions. AirSpring pre-configures the UCaaS phones to come back to our data center and get its configs and connect, right? So you plug the phone in, it's going to connect to your SD-WAN, the SD-WAN box, and then it will follow that SD-WAN tunnel back to AirSpring. And again, one of AirSpring's differentiators is that we have our own VeloCloud gateways in our data centers, and so now that is going to be a secure phone call. It will also have quality of service QoE, so it will smooth out any issues and make the voice crystal clear. And of course, we're going to support it. We've got 24/7 support on it. And go to the next slide. I'll show you some of the packages because you can get these as low as $65 a month.
Jeez.
Right? And that $65 a month is going to come with the SD-WAN box. And of course, we never charge for the SD-WAN box, only for the tunnel. And so that comes with a 10 megabit tunnel. And just for, a relative size, that would be able to handle about 100 phone calls in 10 meg. So you've got some bandwidth there, tunnel license that is ready to handle data as well as voice.
And what you mentioned earlier, John, is that tunnel, that's just that prioritized traffic. I have non-prioritized traffic. They just go out.
Oh, sure. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. All other, you're right. We're not throttling it to 10 megabit. Just good point. Absolutely. So then we've got the enterprise seat, and that's got unlimited calling outbound, and it's got some toll-free minutes, and they can actually be pooled with the others as well. You get your own dedicated AirFax number, and that is a fax DID in addition to your voice DID. You get a fax DID that sends and receives faxes to any fax machine in the world from your email, and you get 500 pages a month for free, which is also pooled. So, and then it does, yep, and that's pooled, and it's pooled between all the other users, so that if somebody's using 1,000 and somebody's using 0, you're still good.
Yeah,
that's hot.
Max UC desktop, that's a soft phone, right? So that's a soft phone, and it loads on any Mac, PC, laptop, iPad. I can load it anywhere I want. I think Chuck even loaded it on his smart TV just to see if it would.
Yeah, it runs there.
I know every time you call Chuck, his TV rings. But that's just, you got to test everything, right, Chuck?
Yep.
You get that same application also for your iPhone and your Android phones. So everything I can do from that soft phone, all my presence awareness, instant messages, video calls, all that stuff can be done from any desktop, iPad, laptop, or now all of your smartphones as well. And you also get, you're going to have some meetings kind of like this, but if you've also going to get a 10 participant license for the Max UC video case. Yes. Yep. It's built into this license.
It took me 2 years to get a 10 license here.
And so all of that for $65 a month is finally at the other end of we didn't have that price last time. It was almost double that last time. So anyway, great bargain. And again, if you needed a larger tunnel or to accommodate a different configuration, maybe not behind the modem. So we also have some other sizes. So,
that's true. Remember that tunnel license is always just a software change anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So now the whole process is that between $65 and a maximum of $140 for our biggest work from home package is available. And so, yeah.
So you don't have the work from home data center package that Clinton or Mike wants.
They need, yes, they do.
I need my own 3810s in HA mode, right? Because I got
really
whatever.
That's amazing.
That's coming someday, right?
Yeah, that just validates the affordability of these solutions. In my mind, at $65 per month, when you think about the business impact, right, and the implications for these key personnel, right, not having that assured connectivity.
They got to be online or the business goes down, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All righty. Next topic, Chuck. All right, Ellen. I'm gonna bring Ellen back in.
All of you remember the August 19th FCC mandate about how POTS lines were going to be fully phased out nationwide by this month. Well, people started working on that, but the last year there was still 36 million POTS lines in use. And as
In
you
the
know, you're
United
working,
States.
yeah, just
Yeah,
in the United
just
States.
yeah.
And I know that you guys are all helping your clients, especially those that have, fax machines, fire alarms, burglar alarms, HVAC
Mhm.
systems, ATMs, that rely on those. So I'll let the gentleman here who are better trained to discuss it. But there actually was a forbearance given to Lex on this. So the net
15
is,
years ago.
yeah. I mean, this is from the Telecom Act of 1996. Exactly right.
Yeah.
So they're not going to shut everybody's POTS lines down, on August 2nd. But the price is going to go up. Let's face it, that price is going to go up, and it's going to easily, we think, exceed the cost, the per user cost for the packages the gentleman just discussed here that AirSpring offers. So it's something that I think you should consider. And when you're having your connectivity reviews with your clients, call your AirSpring channel manager, call your account manager, and see how we can fit in. Now, AirSpring is working on a POTS replacement product. I didn't have everything finalized yet. I didn't have finalized data, so I could not present it today, but we'll follow up with that. But just want to let you know, there is still time here in some cases. So guys, you want to comment on, I think, John, should we move to the next slide where there are some
Yeah.
things that POTS, that VoIP and what, we can do that maybe POTS still
Yeah,
does. So
yeah.
yes.
Let me just summarize this in the interest of time is that first of all, Metaswitch is a full class 5 switch. Not that many left in the world. Microsoft actually bought Metaswitch a year and a half, 2 years ago. And, when a big corporation like Microsoft buys something, it's, everybody holds their breath. Are they just buying it to kill it, or are they buying it because it's
They're
as cool
stealing
as we
dial
thought it
tone
was?
is what they're doing. They're a bunch
Yes,
of dial tone thefts.
yeah, and so we're very pleased to say they're incorporating it into Teams and other things. So bottom line is that replace premise-based PBXs, move to the cloud, enjoy the benefits of secure cloud voice. Anybody still on PRI, SIP trunks, analogs, all that stuff, good target account. Just everybody should be moving to the cloud.
Yeah, and even for that, customers want to keep their PBX. That's fine. We'll connect to that too, using the same technology, giving them the same benefits.
Yeah,
And
if AirSpring has your PRI analog or SIP trunks, you can add soft phones out to your remote users. And since we have all your numbers and are feeding your SIP trunks, we can actually tie in the hosted phones into your auto attendant and other things. So keep
that's a
that in
valid
mind.
point, John, that with AirSpring's voice services, whether it's a PRI on the left or a UCaaS seat on the right, it's all on the same network. So they can call each other, they can forward to each other. There's no call. It all stays in the AirSpring network, so there's no charge for that. The other parts, when it comes to voice services, the UCaaS replacement's been there for many, many, many years. It's the non-voice products that the phone system did. Phones, I don't think Alexander Bell had fire alarms in his mind when he said, Watson, come here. You know
And it
what
was
I mean?
also some of the deprecated functions that people were expecting SIP to be able to
Open the
replace.
door, open the gate,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, these old useless features that no one even uses anymore.
Yeah,
Like
and it's
yeah.
what's what they're familiar with though, as we all do. But
Mhm.
and once again, as you know, I'm more of the IP guy, more aggressive. That you are seeing like ADT now. Almost all their security services are IPv6,
IP.
Wi-Fi 6 with
Yep.
IoT type devices. So you'll see that come in and out. But at the end of the life cycle of the product, come on, these letters up in this slide we're showing paid for many homes and many vacations for Chuck.
That's true. And
But
me.
yeah, but once again, we try to position ourselves at AirSpring as your technical partner. Um, I imagine, Ellen, the next time we talk about POTS lines, we're finally going to put it in the grave because I don't think they're going to be around. They'll be out there, I mean, I'm sure there'll be some vertical marketing people that run with them, but I was surprised to see that there were still that many million POTS lines
Yeah.
left,
Yeah.
Hmm.
because I
And
have
the
friends
pandemic
paying
may have had, yeah.
$180 a month for a POTS line
Yeah. It's
because the
very,
CO
But in
is 3
broadband,
counties away.
why
yeah.
would exactly? Why would you pay so much for a dial for just to get tip and ring
Dial
when you
tone. Yeah.
buy, you
They
can
want
spend
negative
40 bucks,
48-volt battery.
and you can
That's
spend
what they
40
want,
bucks
Clint.
on a broadband. But hold on,
Yeah.
you can spend 40 bucks on a broadband connection, do whatever you want over it. Right? You can do voice, connect to the internet, do whatever you want.
I just got up from 200 meg to 400 meg because I got the HBO channels and HBO Max.
Yeah, stream
You know, so
video.
good
Yeah, the
points.
ubiquity of IP is what makes it attractive, and it's also what's deprecating these circuit switch technologies. The stuff just can't keep up anymore. The salespeople and your customers are what changed all this. Really,
Yeah.
the customer demands, the necessity always fuels the invention, right? The mother of
Hmm.
invention. That's why we're here. And it's up to us to convince folks that what they asked for, right? They've been asking for this. It's here, and then we have to convince them to move on to it. So